Hello and welcome to Smaulgld Silver versus the Dow. We're going to take a look at silver's performance versus the Dow Jones Industrial Index over the past 47 years since 1970. Tomorrow we will take a look at gold versus the Dow. The silver story is quite sobering. Let's take a look at some charts, and also I've pulled together some interesting data from the 47 years. So silver's often been referred to as gold's poorer cousin, and it actually does perform poorer as well as being cheaper. Historically, we know the story. It took about 16 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. That amount now is about 75 times. Silver has continued to get cheaper progressively over the last 50 to 100 years. However, when gold rises, silver rises generally faster, and when gold declines, silver takes a bigger hit. I like to say that silver is a spike and dive commodity. And when you look at these charts, you'll see silver's really only had a day in the sun twice in the past nearly 50 years. That was the period around 1979-80, and then the period around 2010-2011. And then it's all over. Then silver takes a dive. It spikes and it dives. Let's take a look. Now, for the 6-month period, you don't really see much. So this year, at certain points during the year, silver did better than gold. Okay, right now it's doing, better than the Dow. Right now it's doing worse. So you can see it's up and it's down, it's up and it's down. But right now, through the first 7 months or 6.5 months of the year, the Dow is outperforming silver. Even though earlier in the year, silver was outperforming the Dow. Let's take a look at, by the way, throughout this whole, you can see these charts better if you go to the Smaulgld site. I'll put a link below, but you can see, you can follow along if you just open up a browser and take a look at the charts. Here's your pitch to donate to Smaulgld via Bitcoin, Litecoin, PayPal. I do appreciate those donations. All right, let's look at a 2-year. Oh, by the way, you can buy Silver Eagles. We're going to go, as you'll see as we go by, there'll be plenty of opportunities to see the different silver products you can buy through the Smaulgld links. Smaulgld gets a small commission, not investment advice, but if you're interested in buying silver, you'll see plenty of silver offers go by as we go through these charts. So we saw the 6-month chart, silver versus the Dow, and right now the Dow is outperforming it during the year, but during the period, a few months during this year, silver was outperforming the Dow. But you can look at the 2-year chart. Also, there were points where you could see here in the summer of 2016 where silver was outperforming the Dow, but then it fell off and continues to underperform as the Dow continues to skyrocket higher. There's your pitch for Canadian silver Maple Leafs. You can compare pricing and shipping on those guys. That's a queen, your friend there. Now, the 5-year chart, now you start to see some issues. Is yes, if you take on an annualized basis and you smooth out those spikes that silver may have had during 2015 and 16 and 17, on an annualized basis, the Dow has outperformed silver. Now in this period here, silver was outperforming the Dow. The Dow was in the doldrums. So early, maybe 2012 and early 2013, silver did outperform the Dow. Here's your silver Philharmonic coins. Check them out. See the Philharmonic. There's the instruments. All right, a 10-year chart, pretty sobering. You see, you had a nice run here. This is the best run silver's had in about 30 years. From 2010 into 2011, it kind of took a nice jump higher, and then it began its descent, and has been since 2013 for the last 4 years underperforming the Dow. Here's your silver pandas. All right, now 20 years looks even worse. You can see since 1996 silver is just below, it's underperforming the Dow for about 12 years, and then 13 years the financial crisis hits and it gets a nice run, and it outperforms the Dow for just about from 2012 to 2013, and that's it. From 2011 to 2012, and then down it goes again. Now let's look at a even longer chart. Well, now here you see your other spike, the 1980, 1979 spike, and you can see they're far apart. 1980, 2011, 31-year difference between those two towers. So that's why I like to say silver is a spike and dive, because if you put it on the Dow and set it and forget it, yeah, you would have missed those couple of spikes, but you wouldn't have had 30 years in the wilderness. Now, let's take a look at the longer term silver performance. All right, so here is a chart. Again, you see this better on your at the Smaulgld site. Here are the years in red where Smaulgld, where silver lost money against the dollar, and here are the years where it gained. Well, let's go over here and see what that means. Less than half the time in the last 47 years did silver turn in a positive performance against the dollar. We like to say silver preserves wealth. Well, if it can't beat the dollar half the years over the last 47 years, it really doesn't preserve wealth. Sorry. It's only gone up 23 of the last 47 years. And again, when it goes up, it goes up. There's no two ways about it. You get those spikes. I mean, we saw those right there, those two big spikes, 1980 and 2011, but they don't last. Now, interestingly enough, the two big spikes occurred in 1980 and 2011. However, in those years, the price of silver actually went down for the year. So in 1979, the silver price went up 374%. But by the time 1980 was over and it had its peak early in March and it got to $50, the year ended down 43%. Silver spiked and then dove. It got smashed down by the COMEX after they instituted the rules, after the Hunt brothers tried to grab as much silver as they could. They put in sell-only orders allowed on the COMEX, and boom, there goes silver, down 43%. The next year, down another 48%. And then you got that long slide. But look at this, 2011. You think that's the big year for silver. It was, again, early in the year, and then in April, then down the rest of the year, almost 10% that year. So it had a nice run, 2009 up 50%, 2010 up 82%, and then boom, down. Small bounce in 2012, and then down the next 3 years, 35%, 20%, 11%. This is not unusual. People are thinking, oh, something's happening, they're manipulating silver. Well, yeah, they were doing it here too. 1980 is a classic example of manipulating silver lower. They basically just shut down the COMEX, said you can't buy silver, you can only sell it. Down goes silver. Now, silver is part of its spike and dive. It put together a streak of 6 years up from 2002 to 2007, and it lost 5 years in a row from 1988 to 1992. The recent down streak was only for silver was only 3 years, 2013, 14, 15, because it did manage to gain in 12, and we were up last year in silver. The biggest silver gain tops anything you want to see. In 1979, 374%. As you'll see tomorrow, gold's never achieved that in a year. The Dow's never achieved that in a year. But in 1981, silver went down a crushing 50%. That's something that gold has never done, gone down 50% in a year. And if you go through this chart, you'll see 50% in 1981, 43% in 1980. It's not uncommon, 35%, 36% in 2013. So silver does spike and dive. Here's something that's 47 years. Silver's been up about 900%. It's about $1.75 an ounce in 1970, and it's currently about 16.50. Now we'll see. Compare that to gold and silver. To gold and the Dow. Total underperformance. Gold we'll see tomorrow, and we're going to take a look now at the Dow's performance since 1970. Here's your Dow. You'll notice a lot more black on the chart. You can look at that on your own. The Dow has been up 72% of the time in the years since 1970. 72%. It's up 34 of the last 47 years. It had a 9-year winning streak from 1991 to 1999, and then from 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, it went up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row. A very small decrease in 2015, and in 2016 it was up. That's 7 out of 8 years. This year will probably be 8 out of 9 years. Now, the largest gain, though, in the Dow was only 38%, and that was in 1975. And the biggest loss was in 2008. Now, we think of 2008 as a horrible year, and it was, but it was only down 34%. Doesn't come close to silver's 50% dive that we saw earlier. So, of the three, the Dow, gold, and silver is by far the lowest underperformer. You can count on it dropping more than half the time over the last 47 years. It has the biggest drop, but as I say, when it gets its spike, it has a big spike. So we saw that we had that 374% spike in 1979. We saw a 50% spike in 2009, an 83% spike in 2010, a 45% spike in 2006. But then we've seen those dives, 61% spike in 1973 as well. Silver's a small market. It can go up fast. It can go down. But as we saw, silver under 900% gain over the last 47 years. Dow Jones, this is without dividends, 3,566%. So the Dow, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into any of the fundamentals, but the Dow has outperformed silver by a dramatic amount in the last 47 years, and that's without even including dividends reinvested. So hope you enjoyed that. If you do, please like, subscribe. Remember, it's not the message you enjoyed, it's learning this information. Please consider making a donation to Smaulgld, and also subscribing to the Smaulgld channel or becoming a Smaulgld patron. Thank you very much.